beautiful, warrior, veteran. She that inspires.
Hello, I'm your host, career strategist, and job creator, Sistah Soldier, and you're watching She That Inspires, the show where we provide the blueprints for success. So thanks for watching, and joining us today is Barbara Ashe of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, Chamber Commerce Community Foundation. She is the founder of the Veterans Institute for Procurement. Welcome, Barbara.
Oh, thank you. It is great to be here, and congratulations on being a graduate of the VIP program. We're honored to count you among our graduates.
I'm happy. I cannot just express to you how excited I am about being a graduate or a part of that program, because for I want to say 2.5 years, I had been desiring to be a part of it. A few of my peers were graduates, and that's all they talked about is the VIP. So I kind of felt left out. I was like, well, how do you get to be a VIP? How do you join this club? But I realized after talking with you, after applying, I believe the first time, that I didn't qualify. And it wasn't that I wasn't ready, quote unquote, but my business was not lined up properly to do business with the government. And I was thinking that it was something that I needed to do in advance so that I could be ready. But in all reality, the VIP is really more than that. It's to help you grow your business if you're already in business. And so I was ecstatic when you mentioned during the Veterans Business Engagement, small business engagement, that there was going to be a VIP start, and I knew that I fit into that category, and I applied and I got accepted. So I'm happy to be here. So with that being said, I was reading over your bio, and it's really amazing. I know that you're not a veteran. You mentioned that to me immediately when I said, Barb, I have to have you on my show. But because you have the heart, you know, and it's not a lot of people that I run into every day that really have the heart. And I wanted to, you deserve the display, you deserve the accolades of being a contributor to our community. And so I really wanted to honor you by letting people know what you're doing, because it is a hidden gem. It really is. It's a hidden gem for those of us who we know that we want to do business with the government, and it may be costly to learn that skill and that craft, or it just may be something way so far-fetched that we just feel like it's unimaginable without taking a long time of getting there. And you bridge that gap. You bridge the gap by bringing everyone that is in that field of the government arena, and who have done that, as well as some commercial alliances that give us the information and the tools that we need so we don't have to struggle. So I want to ask you, Barb, I really want to know a little bit about yourself. You mentioned to me that growing up, your father was an entrepreneur. Yeah. But tell us a little bit about your story. You have quite a bit of history in the business arena.
I do. So when I got out of college, I got a great job working at Burroughs Corporation, which is now called Unisys. So it was a huge company, and I was in business development, so I sold for the company. And great training, and I loved every minute of it. I loved, being with the customer. I loved being solution-based, and, back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, I was a government contractor and didn't even know it.
Wow.
Wow. And took some time off to raise a family, and decided to get back. And during those 15 years that I took off, I did a lot of community work. And it was basically a sales job. You'd go and try to, pitch your cause was, so important that elected officials would have to, solve that problem, whether it's directing resources or fixing a problem in the community. And I loved every minute. And I did a lot of PTA work. And so what I did in the PTA work, as well as volunteered in the school, I was also a substitute teacher for 6 years. And I think that really helped me a lot in what I do in VIP as well, is that there were a lot, and I think we know this in our own personal experience, that we know many of the teachers we had growing up certainly knew the topic. They were probably very knowledgeable in geometry, but it was the exceptional teacher that could teach you geometry. And I saw that also when I was volunteering in the schools and as a substitute teacher, just being in that community, that I realized I could see when kids really learned, when they were engaged. It's a long day, for even an adult. So you went through VIP. It's a long day. So a big.
But I didn't get sleepy not one time.
No, we had great instructors, and so what I learned in my volunteer work, and as being a substitute teacher, I think you asked about sort of my background and how it all kind of comes together, having a father who was an entrepreneur and being in business, and then community work, but being in the schools. I saw the difference is that there's the art and science of teaching. Right, so there's the science of knowing your topic, and I do believe teachers know their stuff. But there's the art of knowing how to teach. Right, and I don't know how you teach the art. I don't know, that. But some people are gifted.
Practice.
And I think there may be a gift to that. I don't know, but so that's what we look for in VIP, is that the business. So we had 33 instructors in your class, over 20.
Wow, it was that
33,
many.
yeah, over 27 hours.
Wow.
Actually more. We had more than 27 hours in your class. And so I look for business, individuals who are, subject matter experts on the topic, but it's that art and science, right, that can actually, how do you take something that's, as complicated as calculating indirect rates, at 4 in the afternoon. After you've been sitting there already.
After you had the lunch and the snacks and everything else that you told us we would only gain 3 pounds. I think I exceeded that.
I knew you were an excellent student. I had no doubt you would exceed all expectations.
I was like, 3 pounds?
So we look for, individuals that have what I really feel is if the art, the science and art of the gift of teaching. And because it's a lot of information, that it's, really learning by a fire, drinking by a fire hose.
It was clear that they had a passion. Every one of them had a passion. And it was coming from, I really want you to get this. It wasn't like, okay, do this, and that's it. But it was really like, you guys can do this. And it's just this simple. Here are the steps and the tools to do this. And so that's one of my principles, and I really enjoy, is being able to lay things out to people. And that's why I call this the Blueprint for Success show, because we want to give the steps. We want understanding once someone has viewed, how can I go into that? How can, it's not that difficult. Someone else did it, and so therefore I can do it too. So where did the veterans piece fit in at? Because I'm not seeing it in here.
Well, so then, after I did the community work, I had an opportunity in my community, was the president of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce at that time, and they had an opening, and I applied, and of course I knew the president from our community work and where I was a community activist trying to get things done, and he was a neighbor. And so I started at the chamber, and I thought it would just be a great place to learn, get to know the community. And I've been there now 13 years. So that was supposed to be my start. But in that, if you think about it, in Montgomery County, we're #2 in the nation in the number of small businesses that sell to the federal government.
Oh, wow.
So government contracting is very important. The success of small businesses in our community is really an economic imperative. So we won't have the schools that I'm passionate about, and the parks and the transportation if they're not successful. We won't have the tax base to support that. And it was in that work that I worked closely with one of the companies that is headquartered in Montgomery County. You might have heard of them, Lockheed Martin. Yeah,
Yes,
you might have heard of that
yes.
government contractor. Well, we do a large procurement conference. Matter of fact, our 13th annual procurement conference is on May 12th, and I've run that from the day I got there. And Lockheed Martin has always participated, and the gentleman that you met at VIP, John Secara, who spoke at the breakfast, he was at the conference, and just walking down the hall one day at the conference, he said, "We should do something for veterans."
Oh, wow.
And
bless your heart, John.
Yeah, and I kind of looked at him. I mean, that's all he said. And I said, "Well, what do you have in
Yeah.
mind?" He goes, we should help veterans."
Oh, wow.
And so I kind of, we were at a conference with 1,000 people. I'm running it, so it wasn't a long conversation. And then a couple of years later, another gentleman named Barry Kane, who was a service-disabled veteran-owned small business that he was a president of the company. It was called Catapult Technologies in Bethesda. He showed up at a meeting that was canceled, and he didn't notice it was canceled. And if you know Barry, he was a busy man, and and I said, "Well, at least sit down and have a cup of coffee with me." So he sat down. I said, "I'll have a cup of coffee before I get back in my car and drive back home." And he said in that conversation over a cup of coffee, "We should do something for veterans." He said it exactly like John.
Second confirmation.
Second confirmation.
Yeah,
and so I said, someone else has said that. So I got the three of us together in a room, and literally we dreamt up, not what but it was the beginning of VIP. And what I had was the largest prime government contractor in the world was sitting there, right?
Wow.
And I had a small service-disabled veteran-owned small business, so they
describe what he was experiencing.
That's right, from both, because that's really the community, right? And so it was really, with their understanding of the marketplace from a user experience, and we started digging, and we were surprised, to learn. I mean, I knew Lockheed knew, and they knew, but we were surprised to learn really at the chamber that the government had not met its 3% goal at that point. And we were in the middle of record spending, middle of two wars, and we couldn't hit our goal.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Wow, yeah.
And so then we started asking, well, why? Why aren't we hitting our goals? And then everybody would say, well, it's not because we don't want to do business with a veteran-owned business. That's not it. It's just that they don't have the skills. I'm like, seriously? They don't have the skills of veteran? And then when we dug deeper, it wasn't the skills in terms of their talent of doing the performance of the work. It was understanding how to running a company.
Yeah.
Because
that transference.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so that's why when you come to VIP, a lot of what we focus on certainly isn't your skills. We know you're talented, you know what you're doing, and we know once you get on site, or your people are on site, they're going to do an incredible job.
Yeah.
They're mission focused. They understand the customer. Discipline. But it's the back office. And a lot of what you learn in business is by being in business. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But if you were spent 15, 10, 20 years in the military, you didn't get that opportunity. Everybody else got it. Oh, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
They all benefited from you being somewhere else. And so VIP really gives you speed of play. That this is information that's out there. But it's not bottled up, and it's not easy to get your hands on. And so
I'm going to stop you right there. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
VA's round-the-clock hotline can put veterans who are homeless in touch with the resources and support they earned through their military service. Call 877-424-3838.
Welcome back to She-Vet Inspires, and I'm here with Barbara Ashe from the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, VIP. So, Barb, we were talking about veterans having the skill, but not having the knowledge on how to transfer their skills into doing government contracting as a small business.
Yeah. Well, it's a very, we were talking, it's the business acumen. What does it look like when a good transaction look like? How do you structure a business transaction? And those are things you learn by doing. You've been in the room when things don't go well, and you've been there when they do go well. You also build the relationships with the bankers and the accountants and the insurance. And so just by being in a business, you certainly pick up a lot of that information. So in the military, you pick up a lot of skills, certainly, but running a business probably is not one of them. Parts of it, certainly, leadership skills, working with people, team building, but the accounting side, probably not as much so, not, all the things that we teach. And it's also different when you're the owner. So if you're doing accounting for the government, which, you can have those roles, if you're on base and different responsibilities, you're probably not doing the same type of accounting. You're not, and so we focus on how do you be compliant, how can you, not only be compliant, but compete and perform, the work. And
it's funny that you said, you learn by doing, because that's how we learn for the most part. We are hands-on people.
That's right.
Even if we are really book smart, most of them, most of us are able to go to school and things of that nature, but it's the hands-on piece on where we really get our skills from and being able to do that. So when you talk about starting a business and you haven't been alongside someone who's had a business, having a mentor or having someone explain to you the nuts and the bolts, and not book smart wise, not just from the instruction piece, then it makes a difference, because it's kind of like, okay, I've read this and I know, okay, I'm understanding what it says to do, but where do I begin?
That's right.
And the book didn't tell me this part right here. So having someone to really give the instructions that were given there at VIP is just phenomenal, because they talked about the cash flow sheets and the contracting and the clauses and going over those things. I mean, just having the attorney come in alone saved us money.
That's right.
Because now it removes a lot of the myth. And we got it from the horse's mouth, straight from the individual who does that, the expert. And that made a huge difference on helping me and many of those that were there to understand that I can avoid a lot of mistakes if I just apply what I've learned here today. And that manual is just like humongous.
And do you believe you got through all of it?
Yeah, I know, right?
If I was to hand that to you and say, it's, what is it, about 6 inches, and say, you're going to read this in 3 days, you'd say, no way.
Yeah.
And you read it in 3 days.
Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, are we supposed to, or do we have homework or something? But then we went through the whole thing.
You did.
And that was just like, wow. When I was amazed when we got to the back, I was like, we really did go through this big old 6 or 7 inch binder worth of information.
Yeah, it is amazing. It really is. And so, and what I have found, and so you say, why vet? So that's really it began with a conversation. And most things in my life that have gone well have begun with a conversation, And so it was from that spark that we built VIP. But what I have come to really now, we have 591 graduates in Grow, and now 48 in our new program Start, is that I think there is not a community more gifted and, for not only government contracting, but for business ownership and being business leaders. I think the skills that you not only pick from the military, but for those that chose that to enlist or have found that to be a career, really are well positioned to do well as business owners. So much of what I have learned from talking to veterans, what you have to deal with, in that career, wherever it takes you, and whatever service you're in, whether what branch of the service, a lot of it you can apply that resiliency, that can do, mission focused, teamwork, all of that, and leadership skills, and being fearless, and I
just
think
having the tenacity to just say, I think I really want to start a business. So what are the requirements in order for someone to get into VIP? I know VIP Grow. I know VIP Start was a pilot program, and maybe taking place again in the future. But tell me a little bit about how would someone qualify for VIP Grow?
So for the Grow, which we've been doing up to just recent, we're still doing it, but the qualifiers are that you have to be be in business a minimum of 2 years. You have to have 3 full-time employees, which is probably the hardest one for companies to meet, because we're not counting 1099s. They're actually on a payroll.
Oh, okay.
Right, so that you can count yourself as an owner if you're on payroll, and many are when they're only at 3 employees. And then you already have to have a government contract, and that's another hurdle. You know, so it doesn't have to be a prime, but you have to be at least subcontracting that company. You can't say I did it for someone else. Your company, you know, is currently a government contractor. And of course you have to be veteran-owned. This program is only for veteran-owned small businesses. And so those are the 4 qualifiers for the GROW. And then for START, you know, to your point, that we knew companies, you know, were having trouble meeting those requirements. And the reason why the requirements were there is that when we built a curriculum thinking that's what was needed in the marketplace, that there was a gap there, that companies would, you know, maybe get that first opportunity, one contract, get a few employees, and not be able to scale. And that's really, you know, was just unfortunate, and what was slowing them up. And so the curriculum was built to help them get to that next level, to give them, you know, to accelerate their success.
And the confidence.
Well,
the confidence, because my confidence just went way up after completing that. It was like, oh, really? You know, I was able to match what I was familiar with and see how it could fit in. And of course, I've been in business for a while, but just being able to really understand it removed that fear, that level of fear that even as a business owner who have had businesses for a while, still were afraid, you know, was afraid to jump over that loop and thinking that I was going to do something wrong. But now I know that, oh, I just needed to do that, you know, and so it really removed a lot of the myth and gave me courage and confidence to do that, you know.
That's right. Well, I'd like to think, which is great to hear, because that's not something that, you know, we set out to do, so that's great to hear. But, you know, probably that fearlessness now that you have comes from reducing the risk. The unknown is always, you know, and that's where the risk lies. So it's what you don't know, you know, you know, that'll get you, you know. And so, you know, we try to arm you with the questions, and, you know, first reduce your risk, you know, to yourself, you know, because you have your own reputation and assets probably on the line. You've invested, you know, your time and money in the company, and then of course your teaming partners. You know, once again, you know, when you do business with others, and then the customer, you know. And so if we reduce all that risk, you should be able to sleep better at night. You should, you know. And it's really, you know, in arming you with questions, because the what's are always going to change. But if you're armed with the questions, you know, what do I need to be looking for? Where are the, you know, challenges, the trend, you know, what's going to get me here? What's going to get me in trouble? Because we can't teach everything in 3 days, but we try to highlight areas where there are mostly, you know, where the tripwires are. You know, what's going to. And so those instructors we had, you know, if you take them and put them all in a room, I mean, collectively, they've been in business, I don't even know how many years on average.
They were just phenomenal.
And they've seen everything, right? And so they know, you know, there are these 10 things, like you said, these are the things we see over and over again, where people would slow them up. And as I said in the very beginning, I mean, business mistakes are expensive, and oftentimes for a small business, they're fatal. You just don't have that safety net. And so we try to, so the qualifier for START, you know, SBA, you know, thank God for SBA, because up to 2 years ago, we could only do one program a year, because it would take me all year to raise the money to do one VIP class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because as you know, it's 100% free.
Yes.
Nationwide. It has.
So where does someone? So they can come from anywhere. They don't have to come.
Well, you mentioned Marilyn Harris from Texas.
Yeah.
She was one of our first when we went national in 2011. She came that first year, so I met Marilyn at a conference, and she came, and she's from Texas.
And so how many classes or sessions do you have every year now?
Well, it depends on our funding.
Okay.
So we the first year SBA, we have a 3-year cooperative agreement. The first year we always did one, and they gave us, as well as the state of Maryland gave us a grant, so we were able to do instead of 1, 3. And so we did that the first, 2 years ago we did 3 a year of GROW, and then this year the SBA expanded it to do a pilot for START. So we're going to be doing 4 this year, 3
Oh,
grow
wow.
and 1 START.
Wow.
So we'll see. We're still, waiting to hear
Yeah.
back from SBA as to whether or not they want to continue VIP START.
I think there's going to be a demand.
You think so?
A need for that program because it really, really, I haven't heard anyone say anything negative about it yet. We're all so hyped, because we now are equipped to really do this. It's like, I could jump over that rope now,
Well, I thought it was great. I had a meeting yesterday with SBA and shared with them my observations and also the surveys that we asked the class, to give back feedback on. And I think you're absolutely right that I think it's we can help veterans sooner. And that was really what got us to VIP START, is that when we do the surveys, one of the things that we often heard in our survey, I wish I had done this sooner. And so VIP is really about helping our veterans sooner, be more successful sooner. And then it's also, when we do the VIP Grow class, oftentimes the conversations, in the breaks are, oh my goodness, I have to change the way I'm doing business.
Yeah, it causes you to shift.
And so that slows you up. And so we thought, if we can teach you earlier how to build a strong foundation, then you'll be better prepared to take on those challenges versus having to go back and fix things because you just didn't know. And so I agree with you. I think it is needed in the marketplace.
It is.
It was a great experience, just to watch the engagement and to get the acknowledgement back from the class in their surveys that they had a great experience. It was very valuable in their business, growth. So we'll see, and I think it is wise to start sooner versus later.
Yeah, exactly. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, I want you to share, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, they could certainly reach out to you, I bet. Of course, but in nationalvip.org is our website, nationalvip.org, and they can find all the information, and my contact information's on the website as well.
I wanted to say thank you for joining us today, and I'm your host, career strategist and job creator, Sistah Soldier. And you were watching She-Vet Inspires, the show where we provide the blueprints for success. Until next time, peace.